us the very latest in this investigation is Aaron Snell. He's a public information officer for the Idaho State Police, which is assisting Moscow police with this investigation along with the FBI, and he's serving as a spokesperson for Moscow PD. Aaron, welcome to Sidebar. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
Aaron, what is the very latest?
So at this point in time, we're still processing through our tips and our leads, and we're really working on developing a full picture of what occurred the night of the incident and as well the nights before. We're trying to add context. That way our investigators really have a full idea of what occurred and which direction that they need to go.
The last time we spoke, when I was in Idaho, a couple of weeks ago, you said the picture was becoming more clear. A couple of weeks has passed now. How much more clear is that picture now?
Yeah, and we keep using this picture analogy, but it is true. The further we get into this, the more evidence that we receive back from our crime labs. We've been receiving it all along now. The more analytics that we have, the more that we're able to see really what occurred. Again, we use the word context. We're trying to develop context, talking with the various people that were around the victims that night. And we've done over 250 interviews. So really, we are getting a clearer picture as we go. The question then becomes, how long does it take to have a full picture? We're not sure. This is a very complex investigation, has a lot of different ins and outs on it. And so, from the crime scene itself to the fraternity house to the businesses downtown, there's a lot of things that we need to know. And there's potential for, a suspect or suspects to be in any of the pictures or any of the videos. And so we really have to review things and take a real thorough look at this entirety of the crime.
Like patterns from your leads and possibly from the video. And he was talking about how they are confident, you all are confident, that somebody in that Hyundai Elantra, the white Hyundai Elantra, between the years of 2011 and 2013, has information that is critical to this case. That to me sounds like, saying you're confident, you're pretty certain. And it sounds like that vehicle we've heard it was in the immediate area, and we've also heard through another spokesperson that it was there. How close was this Hyundai Elantra to the house?
So we haven't exactly specified, but we do believe that it was in the immediate area of the residence around the time frame that we believe, was the night of. And so we think that the occupant or occupants of that vehicle potentially saw, heard, or knows something about this case. And so that's why we put the information out. The information came through tips and leads. And so as we processed it, we think that the occupant has some information to provide to us, which is why we put it out.
Welcome back to my Mental Health and Crime channel. My name is Hoodoo London. I hope everyone's having a good day. This was a couple of weeks into the quadruple murders. I believe 4 to 5 weeks. You can clearly hear the police officer who was in charge of the press conference and answering the press in general. When he was asked about the Hyundai Elantra, I was always interested in how they came to that lead. And he says clearly we got the lead from tips and people calling in. So my question is, who was calling in? Was it the students who could have allegedly been involved? Was it the public? Was it the neighbors? Because that's important. If the Hyundai Elantra was seen around the area, the timeline that the police officers talking about was 3 to 4 a.m. This was in the beginning of the case. So why is he mentioning that they got it from tips and leads? And you heard him saying that they were investigating companies, the fraternities, the Sigma Chi, the fraternities basically. A lot was happening in the field that night. You had the Banfield stop, alcohol miners stop, that was actually called in by someone. So I wonder, what was really going on? We keep on hearing that the occupants, person or persons of interest, Earlier in the case, it seems like it was not just one person involved. The car that they were searching for, they kept on saying occupants in the car. They need to speak to the occupants. When did the occupants turn an occupant? The car was sitting in the immediate area. That doesn't necessarily mean that the person in the car parked the car and went inside the house. We haven't seen that, obviously, but just for a person to be roaming around the areas because the car was seen in the immediate area doesn't necessarily mean that the person committed the quadruple murders. Somebody could have come on foot, like the 4 to 5 figures we've seen running around. We've seen the 3 figures in the Banfield stop. We saw Saeed watching concerning pictures. We saw what was happening in the grub truck. Some people can say that I don't see things and there was nothing there in the grub truck or in the Banfield. But everything needs to be analyzed, just like the officer himself said. Because this is a complex case. There's many ways of looking at it. But I personally do not believe that one person went and did this whole crime. Brian Christopher Koberger is a student, a teacher doing his PhD. He isn't a hitman or assassinate. Unless he was rented by someone or unless some other people were involved, I can't clearly see any motive for Brian Koberger to do these horrific quadruple murders by himself. That's my opinion.
We know you've eliminated one of those vehicles as being the Elantra found in Eugene, Oregon, that had been involved in a vehicle crash that belonged to a woman, and it was registered out of Colorado. So you've already eliminated that one. That leaves 21,999 or so to go. So what's the progress on that? What's the update on working through that list of vehicles? Because that's a huge number of vehicles, and is that a nationwide list, or what can you tell us about that?
So I'll be a tiny bit more generic about it, but it is a list of vehicles that potentially could be in this area. It's received through all sorts of different sources and databases. And so as we look at that list, obviously, the ones that could be close to the area might be important. And then as the ripples and as that gets a little further out, maybe those vehicles potentially would be less likely to be involved in an incident of this nature. And so, we're able to, as we go through this list, we're looking for, again, different patterns and different trends. And so as we're putting it all together, we're hoping that something will come to light and that we'll be able to use that to move forward.
We noticed, too, in one of the recent updates that about 14 FBI agents have been added to this case. Can you tell us why that number increased from last week from 46 to 60?
So really what we tried to do when we put out those numbers is give people a snapshot in time of what's occurring in this investigation. That's why we update the number of tips and the number of leads and the number of digital images and those types of things that we receive. We would like the public to understand the volume of information that we're processing and the number of people who are currently working on this case. So really, that's a snapshot in time. So as various projects come and go, those numbers will increase and decrease. And so, saying that we have additional FBI personnel assigned to this case is a little bit of a misnomer. As well, we have, I think, 25 ISP, Idaho State Police, detectives assigned to that. But those are the ones that are here and working on the case. That doesn't include the other ISP detectives and troopers throughout the entire state who are assisting in interviews and those kinds of things. So really what we're trying to do is we're just trying to show a picture to our community, letting them know the volume and just the sheer magnitude of this case.
You have more than 10,000 tips. I think the number's hovering around 15,000 now. That is a huge number. I don't know if people truly understand how much information that is and how much that is to go through. So how many of these have you been able to rule out as maybe not being fruitful, or where are you in that process?
So I don't have the exact number of tips and leads that we have actually processed through. But what I do know is that a lot of the resources that were we're adding to our group, the FBI in particular. The leads and tips go through them, and so there's a process to analyze each and every one of those leads and look at and review those leads and then assign them a priority. And so leads that potentially are that based on other information that we have in the case, those are assigned a higher priority, and we start working on those. But we are dedicated and motivated to process each and every one of those and actually analyze them and review them and make sure that they don't contain something that we really need for this investigation. We truly do believe that there is somebody somewhere out there, or maybe information that has already been provided, that is going to be the key to unlocking this entire crime, this entire investigation.
I've covered cases in the past where it was almost like a nugget came to the investigators, something that might seem small, but it was a thread that they pulled on, and it kind of just kept, they kept pulling on it, and it led to more information. In your experience, how important is that? Because it could be just one thing or a couple of things that really open a pathway to leading to who did this.
That's 100% correct. I truly believe that there's going to be a piece, or maybe even potentially pieces of information out there that are going to connect together, almost like a puzzle. And when they do, it is truly going to open up the doorway, and we're going to have a clear direction in which to go. And I think at that time, it's going to unravel quickly, and we're going to be able to make determinations. The interesting thing is the information that we already have, the picture that we've already drawn, that will help us as we move forward to really put together what occurred. And so knowing a lot of those things and putting them together already is going to help as well. So we recognize the public would like, a quick end to this, and that's what we would like as well. But these types of cases are large and they take time. And so, we recognize that there's frustrations out there, a lack of information. But again, ultimately, this is a complex criminal investigation, and we will provide as much information as possible. And we're always wanting more information as well from the public.
Speaking of more information from the public, the family of Xana Kernodle has sent out flyers. They sent some out last month, and they've sent more out this week. Basically just begging people, asking people with any information to come forward, whether it's the tip line, whether it's the digital media upload with the FBI site. So they sent out, I think, 5,000 or so of these flyers in the mail. So talk to me about how important that could be, because this happened. A lot of people left campus and left town, and you're saying you think, there's somebody out there that knows something.
Yeah, we think it's very important. And, we appreciate that support from the family. We want additional leads as well. Anybody that had looked at some of their past social media posts or past pictures and think something's out of the ordinary, something's odd, we want that information. I think we've been consistent in saying that, the activity that might have been done within those pictures or those videos that people may or may not want to submit to the police, that's not what we're interested in. We're interested in the context of the crime. That way we can piece together aspects of this case, that we get a better picture.
Chief Fry released a video and said that he was addressing questions about leadership in this investigation. And I think I know why he did that. There have been some things said about Moscow being too small of a PD to handle something like this. Obviously, Idaho State Police and the FBI are assisting with this investigation. He talked about the experience of his command staff. I saw some reporting the other day about the lead detective from Moscow only having 2 years of experience, but it sounds like he actually has more experience than that, at least, 2 years with Moscow PD possibly, but more experience in law enforcement, possibly military police training and things like that. Can you address that? Why did Chief Fry feel the need to come out and do that?
Yeah, I do think it's important. There have been statements made in the public and in media, and the chief really wanted to stress that indeed this was his investigation. This is his agency. These crimes happened in his jurisdiction. And so he is the chief, and he is the one leading these investigations. His command staff has ample experience, 94 years of experience combined. That's a lot of experience for any agency. And so, they have the right to pick whom they want to be in the positions that they are on the investigative teams, and they have. The information out there is not always correct. And I don't even think it's accurate when it comes in terms of saying that this agency is too small. It doesn't matter the size of the agency. You have a police chief who understands what he's doing. He understands how to get an investigation done, and he's able and willing to call in additional resources. Ultimately important. So at this point in time, you have some of the best and the brightest, both from Moscow Police Department, but the ISP and the FBI, all working on this case. And so when you have that much skill and technological wonderment and abilities, and you just have all that investigative skill, that's important. And the chief is the one that had that and brought that all here. And so when he says we're dedicated and motivated to get this case solved, you have to believe him, because it's true. He's willing to bring in those resources that can help and assist his agency.
This is my personal opinion only. I'm sure that Chief Fry is very dedicated to this case, but I personally believe that most of the mistakes happened in this case in the beginning. The FBI did not join this case till the 17th of November. The quadruple murders happened on the 13th. Moscow, Idaho is a small county. It's a small place. They have not experienced a quadruple murder to this magnitude. It would have helped if they got the FBI and other bigger agency immediately. The Idaho detectives got into this case 4 to 5 hours later. The coroner wasn't allowed to come into the scene before 5 to 5:30 in the evening. I personally believe that this case should have been handled immediately by bigger forces, or the Idaho detectives should have come immediately. They should have sealed off the crime scene, because basically what you have here is two surviving roommates, for whatever reason, that decided to call the police 8 hours later. They called the Sigma Chi boys first, and they came in, so you can imagine the crime scene and the bodies were tampered with. We know that Hunter Johnson was the one who called 911. When he called 911, or before he called 911, he took the pulse of Eaton. That is tampering with the body. We don't know if the scene was staged, allegedly. We don't know if the crime scene was cleaned. We know that the surviving roommates were texting each other. We were told that DM was sleeping in the first floor, and so was BF. 6 weeks later, we were told that DM is a witness, actually. She was sleeping upstairs in the second floor, and that she saw the person who unlived these students. We were told she saw a man with black clothing and a ski mask, but she managed to see a set of bushy eyebrows. The whole case is baffling, but when you look at it, I believe personally that things could have been amended from the start. Things could have been put in perspective by calling the FBI and by calling the Idaho detectives immediately. When Officer Gunderson came into the scene, he walked into the scene, he thought that there was someone unconscious. He said the strong of red liquid was so strong. So I don't understand how the surviving roommates could have been in a crime scene. Are they trying to tell us that DM did not need to use the toilet? If she walked to the toilet, she would have seen Eaton and Xana, may they rest in peace, his deceased body. We were told that DM opened the door and she told her roommates, she thought that they were partying and they were too loud, so she said, please stop the noise, I'm trying to sleep. How does that all work? Chief Fry said in the beginning to Fox Digital News, when the news agent or anchor asked questions, like where was the surviving, where were the victims, or where was the witness? He immediately said, I didn't say they were witness. I said they were just there. That is a statement that shouldn't have been put out in the beginning. It brings me more doubts, and then we in the social media who are trying to help to find out the missing clues or puzzles are told that we need a rumor control and that we are speculating. What you hear is what you hear. What you see is what you see. You can't unsee something and you can't unhear something. Was DM in the first floor sleeping, or was she upstairs in the second floor telling people to be quiet that they were being too loud? She heard Xana crying, or she heard whimpers from the room. She heard many other sounds. She heard people being loud in the house, but still she did not find it necessary to call 911. She and BF was actually texting each other. Is that the exculpatory evidence that Brian Koberger and his defense attorney, Ann Taylor, won from BF? We know that there was a white car. I'm sure the FBI digital team has all those evidence, but who was in the white car? Did they get off the white car? We haven't seen such things. This whole case is in a gag order, but yet we see 5 figures running. We see people watching strange pictures. And that can't be ignored. We want justice for these 4 victims. They deserve their justice. And we want the truth to come out. We want the whole story. The gag orders needs to go off. And we know for a fact that there's a Brady Giglow material in this case. One of the officers in this case is being investigated by the Internal Affairs. So I don't think he has a good image here, the officer that's being investigated. If he was involved in the case, was he a detective asking the questions? Why were so many suspicious people ruled out so quickly? These are the questions I have to ask, because things don't make sense. I see a lot of funny things, and this case ain't funny. This is serious. The Sigma fraternity boys were all over the grub truck. The Banfield video, I want to know who called in the alcohol stop. Was it to distract the undercover police while the 4 figures were running? Something doesn't make sense. Make it make sense, officer. Please like, share, and subscribe. Justice to the victims. May they rest in peace. May justice be properly served. Brian Christopher Koberger, his latest update is he wants this case to be thrown away. Obviously, it's not going to get thrown away. But what evidence do they have? I don't think the police have strong evidence. Where's the genealogical DNA? Where's the roadmap to it? And especially, where's the 3 unidentified male DNAs? Please like, share, and subscribe.